Welcome back to the kitchen, everybody. Today we are making one of my very favorite things to eat, and that is brisket. I love some brisket. I love it just on my plate as an entree. I love to make grilled cheese sandwiches with it. Grilled cheese and brisket with some roasted red peppers is unbelievable. I love to put it on salad, beef salad, make enchiladas, make tacos, make nachos, make all the things. It is so good. This is, here we go again, super easy, but I'm dead gum serious. This is so easy. Small list of ingredients, very common in the kitchen. Mix it up, pour it over the brisket, slow cook it. Couple little tips that are kind of key. It is yummy. It freezes amazingly well. So I encourage you to double, triple, whatever. So you can always just have it and pull it out, when you need to fix something or you're looking for a quick meal. I actually have two briskets from our steer that we butchered, and it's about 5 pounds total. I started to just do one because it's just me and my husband, and I thought, nope, no, I want to stick some in the freezer and have it, for those quick meals that I need to put together. So anyway, I'm going to get the camera turned down. We're going to get busy, and you'll be surprised how incredibly easy this one is. Okay, so here is my brisket. Like I mentioned, I've got two. This is like 2 3/4 and 3 1/4, something like that. It's right at 6 pounds. So I just put them down in here, greased up my dish. Um, you don't, mine fits in here really well, whatever kind of dish. I mean, you don't want them stacked on each other, but if you have more space, that's fine too. Just something that they'll fit in well that can go in your oven for, about 4 hours is what you want to do. So now we're going to mix up the topping. And I say topping, it's just the kind of seasons and gravy-ish type stuff that we're going to pour on top of it. So first thing, a tablespoon of salt. This recipe is actually something my dad created years ago. He loved to get in the kitchen on Sundays and just make up recipes, and most of the time they were pretty fantastic, and make the biggest mess ever known to mankind and leave for my mom to clean up. So that was always fun, but what we got to eat worked out really well. So now that was a tablespoon of garlic powder. And then we're going to do a half teaspoon of pepper and a tablespoon of smoked paprika. I'll get it out in a minute. Now, my dad, I made a few changes to this recipe just to kind of clean it up. He always used liquid smoke. That stuff, I don't even know what it is. I've tried to kind of research it. It's like, no, I'm not sure what those ingredients are. I'm not interested in that. But I want that kind of smoky flavor. This stuff is fantastic for that. It worked out super well when I made some kind of edits to the recipe. So anyway, just a little tidbit for you. If you have a recipe that calls for liquid smoke, you can always use some smoked paprika and whatever liquid you want to use that would fit your recipe. All right, so now we're going to add a cup of hot water. And it doesn't have to be super hot, just warm enough. You just want to, get your seasonings kind of mixed up. And see how the garlic powder tends to want to glob up. I can't stand that. So having some warmish / hot water will help that kind of break down. Okay, now we're going to add a half a cup of apple cider vinegar. This is my big old jug of homemade apple cider vinegar. Oh, my oven's ready. I need to make some more. I'm about to run out. But that's another thing. You talk about easy to do is make apple cider vinegar. That is something you need to try to do in your own kitchen. Forget buying that mess. It's super easy, and you use the peels and the cores and the, all that stuff. It's so easy. Okay, then we're going to do a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce, or however you say that. This is not Lee and Perrins. I say that every time I use it in my videos. It's just the bottle I use because of the little squirty top. I get a brand called Portlandia, I believe is how you say it, that is unbelievable. It's just so flavorful, and it's organic, and it's just a really high quality version. All right, then we need a 1/4 cup of barbecue sauce, and this is my homemade barbecue sauce. This recipe is on Patreon, Super simple to make. And I'll tell you, this I made August of 24. This is May of 25. It lasts fantastic in the freezer. It's got a lot of apple cider vinegar in it, and vinegar is a preservative. So without having all the nasty, crummy chemical preservatives, you get the preservative quality of the apple cider vinegar. So, little infomercial there. And then the last thing we need is a 3/4 of a cup of Trilogy. I don't want to stick my 1/4 cup down in there because it's covered in barbecue sauce, so I'm just going to do it this way. And as you can tell, I don't get super worked up over exact measurements. I think I've said this in the past. I mean, you want to be correct, directionally correct, but it's like, if you're a teaspoon short or a tablespoon over of a lot of things, especially onions, it ain't the end of the world. Now, if you're baking, that is a whole nother story, which is probably why I'm not that big into baking. You have to be way too exact, and it's just not my thing. All right, so anyway, so we'll mix this up real good, and I got to get my brisket moved back over here. Okay, so here's my brisket, and we've got our stuff, marinade, topping, glaze, gravy, whatever you want to call it, put together. Now, the recipe says lay your brisket fat side up. So briskets have what's called a fat cap. The brisket is like the bottom of the neck of the cow. So like where their neck comes down and goes into their chest, it's that part right there. So there's a fat cap on it. You see that? Now this fat cap is really little. The butcher cut off a lot of it, which that kind of bums me out because I like a good fat cap. But it's enough. It'll be good. It's not going to be dry or anything at all. It'll be super, super tender. So then all we're going to do is just pour this all over. So it helps if you do this like in something that has a little pouring spout, which is why I use this bowl. Because it just helps. It's not required. Obviously, you can get it in there without it, but it helps. And then I will kind of move that a little bit. Make sure you get some of that juice underneath. If your meat's been sitting in your pan for a few minutes, it might kind of like almost, see the little bubbles, suction down on there. And then you may not have any of the stuff underneath. And you want stuff underneath. So now all we're going to do is cover this. And I'm going to get some tin foil out. And I'm going to get it on top without making y'all hear all that scraggly mess. It drives me nuts. And then, but I want to show you how I seal it down because that's a really important step. And then it's going to go in the oven for 4 hours on 325. Typically, for this amount of meat, that's perfect. 4 hours, 325. You want it slow and low for a long time. Sometimes, depending on how your oven is, if it runs hot, runs cool, whatever, or if your brisket's super thick or really big, it can take a little longer. I've not really had, maybe if I had just done this little 2-pound one, it could have gone less than 4, but I don't typically let it go less than 4 because you want it just super tender when you're done. So let me get my foil and we'll cover it up and pop it in the oven, and then in several hours we'll come back and y'all will get to see what it looks like, and it's so amazing. Okay, so you may be thinking, lady, good golly, how hard is it to cover up a pan with tin foil? And it's not, but a couple points. I always run it like this around the edges because you want this sealed up. You don't want to lose any of the moisture out of your pan. So just make sure you've got it on here really, really well, because keeping all the steam that's created during the cooking process in the dish is one of the key things in making sure you have a very juicy, tender, moist roast. If steam is escaping, your food's drying out, your meat's drying out, and nobody wants that jazz. And then the other thing, you don't want your foil touching your meat in any way, shape, or form. I know I've mentioned this before. meat is acidic, and especially like the apple cider vinegar and the barbecue sauce and the Worcestershire, everything I put in here has got an acidic base to it. And if it's on that foil, it's going to eat into the foil. And then you're going to pull it out. You're going to have little holes in your foil where it was touching. And you're going to have aluminum, because that's what this is, aluminum, in your food. And nobody needs that either. So you just want to be careful. If your meat sticks up higher than the side of your pan, put a piece of parchment paper down, then do your foil. That works great. Just keeps the foil off the meat. Okay, so enough of all that. I'm going to pop this in the oven. I'll be back in 4 hours. And in between now and then, I'm going to make 2 key lime pies and some bread pudding for a little family get-together I'm going to tomorrow. So anyway, we'll be back. So 4 hours is up, and I wound up having to, you see that? It kind of, the muscles started shrinking like it does a lot when it cooks, and so it started raising up, and then it was pulling my tinfoil off. So I had to put a bigger piece of tinfoil on there, and then I put parchment paper because it was sticking up. Look at that steam, y'all. OMG. I mean, look at that. That is tender, tender, tender. And you can, you can cook it longer. The longer you cook it to a point, the more tender it'll get. But it'll also get to a point where it'll be kind of dry. Look at that. Can you see that? I'm so busy drooling, I can't even tell what I'm doing. I mean, it just shreds apart. But this is it, y'all. Whoa, splattering everywhere. This is the brisket. Now, this liquid in here, it's not like a thick gravy. Now, you could add some arrowroot to it if you wanted to make it more like a gravy and serve it over potatoes or pasta or rice or whatever. I usually just cut the meat up and leave it in the juice, and that's how we eat it. And then too, that way when I freeze some, it will be frozen in the broth so that it's not just, kind of getting dry or whatever. A lot less likely that it will get any kind of freezer burn. So just peel that fat away and eat that. Ugh, the whole house smells like this brisket. It is just amazing. So anyway, that's it. I'll stop babbling. Y'all get you a local pasture-raised brisket and give this one a try. You will not regret it. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you here on the next video.